Hey, good morning to you. Our phones are fair lighting up. Lots of people ringing in. Lots of people also making allegations about situations where they live. You'll forgive us for being slightly circumspect on air about those, but we will go to calls in just a few moments. What I do want to do, after John McKechnie really laid out some of the things that have been happening, and I know that you will be appalled about them. Lynne Craigie is the president of the Local Government Association and the president of the Shire of East Pilbara. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you going to respond to this, Lynne Craigie?
Oh, look, with shock, like everybody else, criminal behaviour is never good enough or appropriate in any sector, and certainly not in local government, and we don't want criminal behaviour to happen in our sector.
Are you really shocked? Are you surprised? Or should you have known that this is the kind of practice that happens in small places where there's not a great deal of governance over decision-making?
Well, Geoff, I don't think it's as rife as perhaps people are making out. Certainly criminal behaviour happens everywhere and there's no denying, and we don't in any way, shape or form condone that behaviour. But I think there are a lot of good people working very hard in local government, often for very little money, doing a great job.
We understand that, and I appreciate that in the role you play that you would say that too. But the situation is this. The CCC repeatedly reveals inadequate governance, inadequate oversight, too many people spending ratepayer money without authority, using funds for personal advantage. Now, is it a question about the suitability of some people to serve? And we appreciate there are many local government who generously volunteer their time. But does it raise the question about the need for amalgamation, as I said to the Commissioner, so things aren't spread so thinly?
I don't know that amalgamation, it depends where we're talking. There's always going to be a case that amalgamations may give you more efficiencies, but there's certainly a lot of cases where that won't happen. I think we just need, like all sectors, to be diligent about what's going on, to make sure our elected members are equipped and capable of knowing the difference. And as you say, being game to stand up if they see something that's incorrect, and a lot of them do, and report that.
We had the Commissioner talk about the Shire President in Dowran who was unaware of the Local Government Act. This really, to me, strikes at the heart that we have to separate those with good intention and those who are actually equipped to do the job. And is there a shortage of those who are equipped to do the job because they actually don't understand the responsibilities that go with it?
Yeah, look, Geoff, that surprises me greatly, and I'd like to think that local government elected members would come and undertake training if they felt they knew so little about it. And I don't believe that many people would not be aware that there's an act, and I don't know those circumstances about that person saying that, so don't really want to comment on that. But certainly I've never dealt with any one of my elected members across the state who wasn't aware that there is an act and there's a need to follow the act.
Can we talk about the mandatory training that people should have to know how to do these jobs? Is there mandatory training?
There's not mandatory training, but there is a lot of training available. And what we've always said is we promote that people should have training. There should be an induction process, as there is for everyone that I know. As soon as you get on council, you should be looking at what your role is. And people do that. You know, the CEO goes through it with you. There's lots of training provided by WALGA and by the Department of Local Government. We did get some funding for that because, of course, coming to Perth to undertake training or taking training to the regions, which is actually cheaper if we can take one person out to do that, is what we should be focusing on, and getting funding to do that is always difficult. For a small council to send half its council to Perth for training, if they're newly elected members, is always going to be a difficult thing. It doesn't take away the need for training.
I just want to draw the distinction between being part of local council and being an administrator with a footy club or a netball club, because that's how this sounds to me. When we talk about training, training's offered, great, but shouldn't it be mandated? Shouldn't those who go into these positions, albeit with the best intentions, many of them, shouldn't there be certain things that you simply need to learn because, one, you're making important decisions, and two, you are overseeing the spending of ratepayers' money? Is, in the wake of what we've heard, Lynne Craigie, is it not something that just has to happen now?
Well, look, Geoff, I agree. I think people should want to be trained.
You don't seem very certain, though.
Oh, I'm very certain. My issue, I guess, with mandatory training, and we've seen examples in all sectors of life where you force people to come to a training session, what do they actually come away with? What I would like to see, anyone taking on the role of an elected member should want to make sure they're trained. You should want to do the job to the best of your ability. You should want to understand what your role is.
Okay, let me give you an example. I'm Frank. I've been a very successful businessman around town. Family have been in the district for a long time. I pretty much know what goes on here. I talk to lots of people. I've got a pretty fair idea. I don't think I need to sit and watch a PowerPoint presentation as to how I should do my job. Thank you, Lynne, because I know it.
My advice to you,
or have I just made that up?
My advice to you, Frank, would be you only think you know what really goes on. Unless you've worked in the role as a CEO or something else, and you don't understand what that role completely is. Most people don't understand how local governments work, and it is your obligation as an elected member to make sure you're fully equipped to handle that role.
Do you think there's any possibility, and I'll put this to Mark McGowan in about 10 minutes, do you think there's any possibility that these kind of observations from the Commissioner for the CCC, the organisation that investigates corruption and crime, that amalgamation has to come back on the table as a consideration for some small councils in faraway places which may not have the ability to do the job?
I think that councils who find themselves in that position would want to amalgamate with something larger. I don't think forced amalgamation solves the problem. I do want to say, though, Geoff, we're already in the process of meeting with the other departments, with LG professionals and with the Minister's office to look at how we can address what this situation has arisen. How do we go about it? We've got a meeting set already to look at the problem and how we go forward, because we do need to acknowledge if there is a problem there, we need to address it. This, as you say, is very important. It's ratepayers' money. It's how our communities survive, and there's no way we want to see any kind of corruption being more widespread.
And it's also about the integrity of local government and its role as one of the tiers of government that oversee what our lives are like. Lynne Craigie, thank you very much. I want to go to Stephen Strange, who is the Bruce Rock Shire President. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Geoff.
What do you want to tell us, Stephen?
Look, Geoff, I'm furious of what I've heard. John McKechnie's comments. Yes, there are problems around the place. Nature should take its course through the system. But some of the comments he did make were quite smug and did cast a bad aspersions over the whole sector.
Which ones?
Over local government, right through regional WA.
No, but what did he say that so offended you?
Well, he was highlighting the problems that are happening in isolated areas, but he would then come along with a comment and say, it is right, it is out there. Well, I'm here to tell you I represent one local government, Bruce Rock, and I've been the Shire President now for almost 20 years, and I'm as passionate about Bruce Rock as I today as I was the first day. And I invite you, I invite John, just to come up and have a chat about what we do in Bruce Rock. I can't make comments about our neighbours, about local governments in general. I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's an insult to ours.
I'm curious that you are insulted if you are confident that Bruce Rock is the council that you say it is, and I have no reason to doubt that for a minute. But this is about local government, Steve Strange, and an area of local government where the CCC is continually investigating and continually finding.
And so it should, Geoff.
But why be outraged if your council's doing a great job and the people of Bruce Rock are happy with you and no one is signing contracts that they shouldn't sign or taking backhanders? Then of course this isn't about you.
Well, you've just said it again, Geoff. Taking backhanders, and there'd be someone out there saying, well, he's been there a while, perhaps something is going on. You're putting doubt into people's mind about their local council.
It is the behaviour of the individuals here, Stephen Strange, that has put in doubt the reputation of local government.
Well, Geoff Hutchison, I ask you to come out and have a look, spend some time in the regions and see what we actually do. I think John, yourself and others need to understand, I can only talk about my own council, they are volunteers.
Yep.
Their integrity is top class. We're actually trying to put a crop in at the moment, so in between listening to some of the rubbish that I'm hearing, the pressures are on. We are volunteers, and we get there. We have multi-million-dollar budgets. We do our very, very best. We've got the Local Government Act, which we are very familiar with. We stick by it. We employ staff with the
Look, I
highest
appreciate
integrity.
that, Stephen. I appreciate that. But these other cases, these are about CEOs who are earning considerable amounts of money, not necessarily local farmers who are just putting in the hard work in their spare time. I don't think you have anything to worry about, but I think it is a question about the integrity of some other councils, and that is what's being explored today. I can understand you're a proud man with a proud council. I can understand you wanting to say, well, this isn't about us, but it is about others, and it does matter and is going to be investigated. Mark McGowan is next.